Laura here joining us now. We can start with questions on Zoom. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Stephen, you can kick us off.
Laura, I wonder if you could just start us off with kind of your overall thoughts heading into the game against North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, looking forward to it. I think being away on the East is always challenging, but I think it being an evening game is a lot better for us than it was a year ago when we played at 3 o'clock. So yeah, excited for it. I think how we ended the game against Chicago is how we need to start every game, and tomorrow will be no different.
Thanks, Stephen. And then Susie.
Yeah, Laura, you're facing a Courage side that just maybe perhaps gives the team a little bit of a different look than you've seen this year, and I'm just wondering what kind of threats in particular you think that the Courage pose.
Yeah, I think it is a little different than what, the last couple of weeks, obviously, with how how much of a threat both Chicago and the Bay were in transition. I think North Carolina have that a little bit with some of their players, but I think their philosophy of how they like to play means that we have to be collectively ready to defend as a team to try and stop their threats. And I think when teams have done that against Carolina, they frustrated them, hurt them in transitional moments, and got opportunities against them. I think if you don't do that against them, it can be a really long 90 minutes because they move the ball really well and play a brilliant style of football, in my opinion.
All right, and then Stephen.
I want to ask, it's been a while since the team's had a losing streak this long, kind of how the conversations have been through the week about kind of keeping morale up and turning things around and making sure you kind of don't let that drag you down.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's hard. It is hard. I'm not going to say it's not, it is. But I think the thing that keeps us going is we feel we're not that far away. I think we haven't lost a goal. We haven't lost a game by more than a goal. We've constantly been in every game, and we're scoring in those games. I think obviously the only one we've lost that we didn't score in was San Diego, but they scored in the 98th minute, so it was one of those games. I think in all the other games we've shown that we can come back and we have some resilience to us, and we've ended really strong in a lot of those games. So I think that that's what keeps us going. I think that we don't feel that we're that far away. I think we obviously have a lot of veterans on this team who've been in this league a long time. I think the fact that they're quite analytical, honest, calm, really approachable about where we're at means that the younger players aren't freaking out too much. So I think, is it disappointing? Yes. Is it hard? Absolutely. Is it challenging to turn up on a Monday morning after a result like last week? 100%. But I think that we're not that far away. We're not losing by dramatic amounts. We're creating opportunities. So I think that that's what's keeping the morale up. And we've always been pretty consistent as an environment, win or lose, that we're analytical, we're honest, we do very, strong and vulnerable film sessions, which enable us to have consistency, win or lose. So whether we beat someone 5-0 or lose 2-1, our sort of pattern and our routine doesn't really change, which I think helps keep sort of the group in a process-driven mentality, which you have to be in sport. I think if you just get wrapped up with the results, then the emotional roller coaster of that is really challenging. We give ourselves a day to be that way, and then we turn our attention to what next. And we've always had that in this environment.
And just kind of pivoting a little, you have any updates on Claudia and Jordan's injuries? any timelines yet for when you expect them to be back on the field?
No, not really. I think both are weeks, not days away, I would say. But both are trending in a really positive direction, which is great. I think the fact that we have a lot of games in May falls at a bad time for them. But I think by, the mid of the month, we'll be starting to see them making their way back in, would be my guess.
And then next we'll have Jeff.
Laura, I'm wondering, it's kind of you just mentioned the stretch of the season with a run of games here. There's the first introduction of midweek. There's not many this year, but it's coming in the next couple weeks for everybody.
Oh, is it? Because we play in Portland, don't. So there's that.
What's that?
We play midweek, but Portland don't, and then we play them.
Okay.
So
Well, I think it's three
There's
in 1 week, 3 in the other is how it shakes out. So I guess split in half for which week, but
shocker it felt that way.
Ending that stretch with Portland too. Just how important is this stretch of the season? Given the context of the last 4 games too.
Yeah, they're all important. Let's be brutal. They're all important, and I think that home games are really important. So 2 of those 3 are at home. The opponent is the opponent. Every game in this league's hard, in my opinion. Every single team is a challenge. But I think being at home, they're the places you want to get results. We had a poor 30 minutes last week, I think. And that meant that we didn't get the result that we want to go and get. But I think that after this week, we don't travel for a while, which is great because we have travelled a lot so far. And yeah, I think, like I said before, I think if you get totally wrapped up in results, then this stretch could look absolutely horrific on what they've done and what we've done. But I think if you get process driven, which we are, that every single game you have a chance of doing what you want to do, and if you do what you want to do right, you believe you're going to get the result. If the performance is good, it will take care of the result. So far this year, we haven't had that performance, in my opinion, and that's why the results haven't come. So I think we know that. We know what it is. We know what we have to do. We just have to execute.
Just a couple quick follow-ups for me. Just, I guess, if you're willing to share, just what is that piece you think that's missing? You mentioned
it's different all the time. I think if it was one thing, we'd have solved it. Bay was defending corners. Chicago, we didn't do well enough on second phases of crosses to stop crosses. San Diego, crosses, similar. We got deeper and deeper the later in the game. Last week, you can't let Malpew run 75 yards with the ball. It's different every game. It's not like we're doing this one thing and it's tripping us up. So I think we solve it and then something else comes. So I think that's the evolution of the group at the minute. But I think the good thing is the consistency with us is we're creating. We're in games all the time. When we sort out whatever it is on that game that's causing us a problem, we solve it. And then we push on. So I think that's the key piece for us, being consistent on the attacking side of the game and trying to, increase the amount of chances we create versus being solid at the back and getting back to, I'll take a boring 0-0, 1-0 win all day, every day. That's me. I'll take that. I don't want these big score lines. Thank you very much.
Last one for me, just since you're on sort of one of the longer trips that you all have, just kind of wondering how do you think that affects, a team, just even in general terms, in terms of the amount of travel that exists on a trip like this in this league? What is that? How do you think that sort of translates, if at all?
Well, just to put it in perspective, I haven't spoken to the players today, but I guarantee half of them didn't go to bed before 2 a.m. Because that's 11 p.m. for us. So we didn't land, we left, I left my house at 7:15 a.m. I didn't get to North Carolina until 7 p.m. We then eat, that's the reality of what we live. We fly commercially, so we have to deal with what that takes, and it's hard. But it's no different for anyone else in the league. It's just we're having it at the start. Some people will have it in the middle, some people will have it at the end. But it's one of the aspects that makes this league really challenging. And for any player who plays in Europe, I always say to them, every away game's Champions League, every single one. Because, like Lily Wooden yesterday said to me, we've been on an airplane for 5 hours and we're still in the same country. I'm like, yeah, doesn't happen anywhere else. But that's what you have to do here. That's the part of the challenge, which makes it great. I think North Carolina have a really poor results record going west. They have a fantastic home record. Their away record on the west is poor. There's got to be something in it, and I wish I knew what it was to solve it. I would definitely pay thousands of dollars if someone could tell me how to solve it. But it just is what it is. It's a challenge, it's hard, but it's the same for everybody.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Jeff. And then Susie?
Yeah, I wanted to ask one question. You referenced last week the team got in some good positions and had a lot of crosses and weren't able to execute on them. And just wondering, as you look back and kind of evaluate that aspect, is it timing? Is it placement? Is it kind of a combination of everything as the team sort of gets comfortable and used to one another?
Yeah, all of the above. I think type of cross, decision to cross. I think there's some that we shouldn't. I think there's some that we should and we don't. I think recognising who's where. If you want to put a ball up for a 50-50 header and it's Emery competing, probably not the best. But if it's Bolsa competing, do it. I think that is part of it. I just think that I think we're unlucky at some of it. I think the Jess cross that just misses the post, like Bolsa and Veronica are in brilliant positions, just can't quite get there. Emery's comes off a set piece, I think, great volley, save of the week. Emery's when Alyssa saves it near post, Bolsa's wide open in the middle of the six. There's lots of little things that I think we keep talking about that when we get them right, we're going to go from having that one tremendous finish by Z to having multiple. And hopefully that's tomorrow.
Thanks, Susie. All right, that'll be it. Thanks, everyone.